Hi, welcome to another Power Blast podcast. So, do you find yourself spending hours analyzing your problems and creating stress for yourself? Well, I've got 10 simple ideas for you to keep yourself from overthinking and stop spinning your wheels. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, Perry Tinsley here, creator of the Power Blast podcast, The Power of Possibility, Passion, and Purpose. Thank you so much for coming on today's show. I'm so happy to have you here. Let's talk about overthinking. A lot of times people call it procrastination. It doesn't sound so bad, right? On the surface. But thinking is good, right? But overthinking, that can cause problems. You've probably related to this. When you overthink, your judgments get cloudy, you kind of get stressed out, or your stress gets elevated. You spend so much time in this negative spin, and then it can be difficult to take action. And so if this sounds familiar to you, or you can relate to it, here's 10 simple tips or ideas to free yourself from overthinking and putting yourself in that stressful state. Tip number one is just the awareness. And that's the beginning of change. So when you start to feel yourself doubting or feeling stressed or anxious, step back, take a look at the situation and how you're kind of responding to it. I have to catch myself often to when this happens. And that's usually the seed of change. That's the thing that you're like, oh my gosh, I got to change this. It might not be the thing that I'm wanting to do, but I'm starting to feel that. I need to change that feeling and get myself into a different state so I can move forward. The second one is it's kind of a mindset sort of thing. It's to not think of what can go wrong, because I think that's what sometimes we get ourselves into this negative pattern. Don't think of what could go wrong, but think of what can go right. In many cases, overthinking, it's just caused by that one emotion called fear. And when you focus on all of the negative things that might happen, it's really easy to become paralyzed. You create all this big dramatic scene, and it's just a story that's in your head. It's not even real. So the next time you sense that starting to get in that little spiral in that direction, just stop, visualize all the things that can go right, and keep those thoughts present and up front for you. Next one is just to distract yourself into happiness. That might be with just a positive, healthy alternative: meditation, dancing, exercise, learning an instrument. Maybe it's learning how to draw or taking up your drawing and painting. Knitting for some people, just to kind of distance you from the stress of what it is that you're feeling when you're feeling shut down by overanalysis. For me, I know this might sound awkward or whatever, but I often all of a sudden just start getting into cleaning and organization mode, and put on an uplifting audiobook. Then I feel good afterwards. I feel happy the way I've done it. And there's another tip for you. Putting things into perspective, it's always easier to make things bigger and more negative than they really need to be. So ask yourself, how much will this matter in 5 years? For that matter, how much will this matter in next month, in 30 days? Just keep the simple question. Just keep that simple question there, and changing the time frame can sometimes help shut down that overthinking. Next one is a powerful one. It's to stop waiting for perfection. It's a big one for all of us who are waiting for perfection. That wait time is over, because aiming for perfection is really unrealistic. It's impractical. It's debilitating. It's a big time waster. The moment that you start thinking, this needs to be perfect, I need to dial it in, I got to wait for the planets to line, I got to wait until I have this exercise room totally perfect and decked out, I got to wait till I have the perfect outfit. Waiting for the perfect time or the perfect thing is just a big time waster. Think of it this way: waiting for perfect is never as smart as making progress. Let me say that for you again. Waiting for perfect is never as smart as making progress. Just take steps in the direction of where you're wanting to go. Next tip, change your view of fear. Whether you're afraid because you failed in the past, or you're fearful of trying, or you're generalizing some sort of failure, just because things didn't work out before doesn't mean that's going to be the outcome every time. So every opportunity is a new beginning and a place to start again. I look at it as failing forward. If I failed before, that's a lesson that I can learn to apply for the next one. Doesn't mean that there's a pattern there. Next tip is to just put a timer to work. So here it is. You set a boundary. For 5 minutes, you do your worry, you do your analyzing, you do your pity party, whatever it is. Timer goes off. You take 10 minutes and you write those down. All the things that's worrying you, stressing you out, causing you anxiety. 10 minutes are up. Take that sheet of paper, rip it up, throw it away. You're done with it. Move on to the next thing, okay, to what you need to do. Next tip, realize that you can't predict the future. If you try to spend so much time if you spend the time, the present moment worrying about the future and how it's going to be, I mean, I catch myself in this all the time, but you're robbing yourself of your time right now when you're doing that. Worrying is a big time sucker. Spending time on the future is not productive. So I'm not saying don't have a vision for where you're going, but worrying about stuff that isn't true, it isn't happening, it's robbing you of the right now. Okay, so spend the time that you're doing it's on things that you enjoy or that give you joy. Would be a better use of your time. Next one is just to accept your best. Tony Horton says, "Do your best and forget the rest." I mean, that feeling that you aren't good enough or not smart enough or you're not hardworking enough, you're not dedicated enough, that can fuel your overthinking. And once you've given all your effort and you accept it, just, while success may depend on some of the things that you can't control, you just do what you can do. That's what I was saying. Just focus on the things that you can control and pat yourself on the back, acknowledge yourself for that. And the last tip is to be grateful. You can't have a regretful thought and a grateful thought at the same time. So why not spend more time in the positivity? Every morning or maybe every evening, just make a list of what you're grateful for. I told you I've got that 5-minute journal that I use, and I just every day come up with 3 things that I'm grateful for. Just the good things. It's very uplifting. So I do know that overthinking is something that can happen to anyone. And if you just get a great system for dealing with those things, you can at least ward off some of the negativity, the stress, the anxiety that comes upon it. So hopefully some of these have been helpful to you. And if you found them valuable, please pass them on and share them. And help somebody else out, that might be in that situation. So appreciate you for coming on. Just know that this podcast comes in audio and video. And if you just go to your podcast app and do a search for Power Blast, you can find it there. And tell you what, if you are looking for something you'd like a little bit more of a system to really kick butt your morning and uplift your day and feel a little more productive and apply some of these things, go over to myfitstart.com. Download my free guide, my free ebook there, and you'll have a great set of guidelines there that you can always have in front of you, some great resources in there, and links to powerful stuff, and I'll send that right over to you. Just go to myfitstart.com. You can do that. So appreciate you for coming on today, and as always, remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.